Live from WRAL News Headquarters in Raleigh, your #1 source for local news. WRAL News, coverage you can count on.
And there are two systems rolling across our viewing area today and tomorrow. Good afternoon to you. I'm Jeff Hogan.
And I'm Michelle McConaughey in for Nate Chu. Thanks for joining us. A WRAL weather alert day is in effect for tomorrow for the chance of severe storms. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner is in the WRAL Severe Weather Center with a look at when to expect the storms to arrive where you are.
So right now, tracking this one, this has a lot of rain, a little bit of thunder and lightning with it. It's going to move on up into North Carolina. It's going to bring us a chance of some severe storms, mainly after dinner time. We'll go through that in just a second, followed by this storm on Friday. This one comes with a cold front. This one's going to be a little bit more potent, a little bit more powerful, and bring us a better chance for some severe storms, possibly even some isolated tornadoes. This is today's level 1 risk for severe storms. It does cover the entire viewing area. We could see a few isolated storms as early as 3 o'clock, but they're more likely sometime around 8 to 9 up until around midnight. And damaging wind would be our biggest threat for today. You can see a 30% chance between 3 and 7, and then that chance goes up to 60 and then 80% chance overnight. And that's when we'd have a better chance of some severe storms. Tomorrow is a WRAL weather alert day because of that next front that'll come through. Between 2 and 9 o'clock, we can see a line of thunderstorms coming through, damaging wind, large hail, and some isolated tornadoes aren't out of the question. Our entire viewing area is under a level 2 risk for severe storms. That means it's one above that green level 1 risk, of course. It means that there'll be some scattered storms that develop that could produce some of that severe weather, and it's an added tornado risk as well. Best timeline for that's really going to be between 5 and 8 o'clock as a line of thunderstorms comes cruising right across the viewing area. Coming up in just a few minutes, we'll go through Futurecast and take a look at tonight and tomorrow and show you the timeline.
All right, Elizabeth, thank you. The family of a Raleigh man who died following a chase by a state trooper says they feel like they've been slapped in the face. The family of Tyrone Mason and their attorneys held a rally today, 1 week after the district attorney released dash and body cam video from that chase. WRAL's Chelsea Donovan reports live outside the Wake County Justice Center. Chelsea.
Yeah, so the family, as well as civil rights attorneys Bakari Seller and Ben Crump, are asking for 3 things. The immediate firing of the 2 state troopers that were involved in all of this, the firing of the Raleigh police officer part of the investigation, and the immediate firing of District Attorney Lauren Freeman, who didn't bring about charges regarding this case last week. They also mentioned in this rally that both of these civil rights attorneys filed a lawsuit against the State Highway Patrol. Now, this all comes less than a week after body camera video shows Trooper Garrett Macario chasing Tyrone Mason. Macario claims Mason was driving 70 miles per hour in a 40-mile-per-hour zone on Wake Forest Road. The video shows Macario decided to end the chase after about 1 minute and 9 seconds. Mason then crashed into a concrete barrier. So then after that, Macario called his boss, Sergeant Matthew Morrison, stated what happened. The two then conspired together. All of this caught on body camera to not tell Raleigh police that this chase occurred. Now, District Attorney Lauren Freeman stated she will not charge the troopers who lied, as lying is not a crime if it's not in conjunction with something else. The family and Mason's attorneys believe this is a miscarriage of justice. Freeman did dismiss nearly 200 cases where the troopers were investigators, but this family and these attorneys feel more needs to be done.
But what District Attorney Freeman is telling this family and what she's telling this community, she's slapping us in our face. Because she's saying, I don't care what evidence you have. It doesn't matter. I'm still going to take the cop's word over whatever evidence you have.
Now, we should mention that both of these state troopers are on administrative leave with pay. Freeman did say last week that they are not allowed to provide testimony in any of the courts here in Wake County if they are to keep their jobs. Live in Raleigh, Chelsea Donovan, WRAL News.
The man charged in relation to a massive party on his farm in Orange County was in court this morning. Dwight Poole is facing 7 counts of aiding and abetting underage drinking for the event earlier this month. WRAL Investigates has reported extensively on farm parties and the concerns expressed by law enforcement, neighbors, and community groups. Tonight, only on WRAL, why Mr. Poole says he is not accepting responsibility for what happened.
A hearing for a Fayetteville woman accused of killing two of her adopted children has been rescheduled to July 3rd. Avante Devon is accused of murdering her children, Blake and London. Investigators say they learned Blake was missing in late 2023 and then later learned London was also missing. Investigators found skeletal remains in April of 2024 and arrested Devon the next month. The WRAL documentary unit explored the gaps in the state's foster care system that failed to protect Blake and London Devon. WRAL investigative documentary reporter Kristen Severance interviewed social workers and biological family members of the victims. She also talked to WRAL's Chris Levengood, who has reported on this case extensively right from the beginning. You can watch Broken: Foster Care in North Carolina on WRAL.com or WRAL's YouTube page.
And some breaking news. WRAL has learned new information about the murder suspect who died in Durham police custody earlier this month. The State Bureau of Investigation identified that suspect as 19-year-old Joshua Farmer. Now Durham police are disclosing new details in their investigation into Farmer. Police arrested him on May 14th and charged him with murder in connection to a shooting that happened on Dayton Street. That shooting left a 17-year-old dead and a man with minor injuries. Police say as they prepared to transport Farmer, he lunged, grabbed an officer's weapon, and in the struggle, shot himself. The SBI is investigating that incident at police headquarters. Another 17-year-old male is also charged in the Dayton Street murder. And we are also working to learn the name and condition of a person who was shot in Durham. It happened about 9 o'clock last night on Ellis Road. Video from the WRAL Breaking News Tracker shows deputies at a home. The officers found the gunshot victim near Bethesda Park, about a half-mile away from the shooting location. Investigators say this is an isolated incident. No word on any arrests. And right now in the WRAL Live Center, the Capitol Jewish Museum reopened at noon just a week after a tragic shooting happened right outside its doors. Now, a ceremony actually took place this morning honoring the two Israeli embassy staffers killed, 30-year-old Yoren Lashinsky and 26-year-old Sarah Milgram, a couple who were actually soon to be engaged. Museum leaders are emphasizing the importance of celebrating diversity and combating hatred through education. The suspected shooter in this case has been identified as 31-year-old Elias Rodriguez.
The Trump administration says it will appeal a ruling by the federal court that strikes down Trump's sweeping tariffs. The judges that make up the panel were appointed by three separate presidents: Barack Obama, Ronald Reagan, and Trump himself. NBC's Peter Alexander reports all three called the tariffs unconstitutional, dealing a major blow to Trump's economic plan.
Overnight, a federal court slamming the brakes on President Trump's sweeping tariffs.
It's our declaration of economic independence.
The U.S. Court of International Trade ruling that the president does not have the authority to impose those steep tariffs on allies or adversaries. The court, in two separate cases, tossing out the tariffs the president imposed under a nearly 50-year-old emergency economic law that had never been invoked in a situation like this. The suits were filed by small businesses and a dozen states, arguing that President Trump violated the Constitution, which grants Congress, not the president, the authority to set tariffs. The administration already appealing, with a White House spokesperson arguing it is not for unelected judges to decide how to properly address a national emergency. The ruling injecting new uncertainty into the president's on-again, off-again tariffs, with many businesses complaining his chaotic approach has made it impossible to plan their purchases ahead.
Thank you very much.
Hours before the ruling, the president took issue with accusations he's backed down on his tariff threats. When asked about a new term reportedly used by some on Wall Street, taco, short for Trump always chickens out.
Oh, isn't that nice? Chicken out. I've never heard that. You mean because I reduced China from 145%? When you ask a nasty question like that, it's called negotiation. You set a number. And if you go down, if I set a number at a ridiculous high number and I go down a little bit.
As the president battles the courts, one of his top allies, Elon Musk, confirms he's departing the administration, thanking President Trump for the opportunity to reduce wasteful spending while heading up the Department of Government Efficiency, coming just 2 days after Musk criticized President Trump's signature spending bill.
So, I was disappointed to see the massive spending bill.
Musk now faces a new challenge, trying to rehabilitate his image as a visionary entrepreneur after months of fierce political scrutiny.
And all this has had investors concerned for quite some time here. As you look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average, it's had a soft opening, spent a minute in positive territory, and then it's been down ever since, down 171 points this noon. NASDAQ is up marginally, and the S&P 500 is slightly in the gain territory.
And some breaking news. Hundreds of Raleigh Power customers will have to wait a while longer for energy to be restored. Witnesses reported a power line on fire just before 9 o'clock at Glasscock Street and Brookside Drive. Crews expect to have the power back on about 5 o'clock this evening. This was the scene as Sky 5 flew over that area. WRAL's Kelsey Coffey reports from the East Mordecai neighborhood.
We're at the intersection of Glasscock and Brookside where crews are here working. A section of Glasscock Road is closed. You can see a power line smoking in a neighborhood near some trees. We spoke with one of the crew members working here. He says the power line appeared to be burned when they arrived to this scene, but he says they did not see a fire. Power was shut off for people who live on this street. We're working to find out what caused that damage to the power line. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News in Raleigh.
And happening right now in Wake County, take a look, a live look here. Renee Chu is actually speaking at the State of the City, County and Schools Luncheon. Leaders are discussing the priorities for Raleigh, Wake County and its local schools. WRAL's Eric Miller is also there. Look for his reporting on our evening news. WRAL is also a proud media partner of this event.
And a special honor for trauma survivors at WakeMed's Raleigh campus this morning. Former patients and their care teams reunited to highlight the impact of trauma. Among the speakers was 19-year-old John Walter, who survived a near-deadly fall from a truck last year shortly after graduating from Wakefield High School. He suffered traumatic brain injuries. WRAL has followed his recovery, and today Walter's dad got to thank his son's doctors and nurses.
It was a very hard time, and without you guys, we wouldn't have made it. So thank you for that.
It's clearly so emotional. May is National Trauma Awareness Month. Walter's dad says his son continues to make progress and is now reflecting on the recovery journey. Next at noon, buried under a boulder, how a hiker got trapped and needed a heroic rescue.
Also, cosmic objects like none ever seen. What scientists are saying about bright flashes and radio waves from a far-off place.
Plus, a troubling trend around tenure at UNC Chapel Hill. At 12:30, what has professors concerned?
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.
Breaking right now in the WRAL Live Center, state and federal agencies are currently holding a press conference in New Orleans on those remaining prison escapees. Here's a live look there now. At last check, authorities are offering a $20,000 reward per fugitive for information that leads to their capture. Now, authorities have arrested a total of 14 people in connection with the mass jailbreak so far and rearrested 8 of the 10 men who escaped. Domestic abuse suspect Antoine Massey and 4-time convicted killer Derek Groves are the ones still at large. Back to you.
Thanks, Megan. Police in Arkansas are also expanding their search for a prison escapee considered armed and dangerous. 56-year-old Grant Harden was serving a prison sentence for rape and murder. Police say Harden managed to escape wearing a makeshift outfit designed to look like a corrections officer's uniform. Several agencies are working around the clock at checkpoints and sending out search dogs and drones to scour that area.
The Massachusetts Institute of Technology scaling back its diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. MIT is shutting down its Institute Community and Equity Office. The university says it's not abandoning its efforts to ensure a diverse community. Instead, the office's signature programs will be taken up by other departments on campus. This move comes as universities scrambled to comply with President Trump's anti-diversity push. Meanwhile, it appears the Trump administration feud with Harvard University is escalating. The State Department is reviewing all visa holders affiliated with the Ivy League school, not just students. The administration did not say why the review was being conducted. The Trump administration previously moved to revoke Harvard's ability to enroll international students, but that was halted by a federal judge.
The Department of Health and Human Services has canceled a $590 million contract with Moderna to help develop a vaccine that would protect against bird flu. That contract was canceled because the drug maker was studying the effectiveness of an mRNA-based vaccine, which the Trump administration doesn't trust. However, it was President Trump's Operation Warp Speed that gave us mRNA vaccines during his first term. The CEO of Moderna says the company will explore alternative paths forward for that program. An event highlighting efforts to fight the opioid epidemic in Durham is taking place right now. The goal is to specifically address overdose deaths in Durham's black communities. The Together Resilient Group has given stipends to organizations that distribute naloxone and spread overdose prevention awareness. Since then, the overdose rate among Durham's black residents has decreased by 10%. It began within the last 15 minutes there at the Stanford Warren Library.
An amazing rescue in Alaska where a hiker is alive after being pinned by a boulder for hours. Kelly Morris and his wife went out for a hike this weekend in Anchorage. Morris accidentally triggered a rock slide while trying to find a river crossing and ended up face down under a massive boulder. His wife called 911 and it took about half a dozen first responders to try and free him and fly him to the hospital when they did.
I don't know what happened. I was tumbling and I landed in the water. I could hear the large, that noise that large rocks make as they're rolling over each other. I landed up face down in the river and then I felt the rock hit me in the back and pinned me down.
Goodness gracious. Morris was hospitalized for a couple of days, but is doing well. And Jeff, he's already planning his next hike.
Oh, I'd take some time off.
Yeah, me too.
Astronomers have detected a pulsing object in space that is unlike anything they've ever seen. The celestial object emits bright flashes of radio waves and X-rays that last for 2 minutes, and then it repeats every 44 minutes. Like clockwork, huh? It's located about 15,000 light years from Earth. Scientists believe it could be a new class of cosmic objects. Wow. Fewer than a dozen have been found since they were first spotted in 2022.
What did it say? 15,000 light years
yeah,
away. How do you even put that into perspective?
You can't.
You can't.
But the fact that it's on time and keeps doing
at the same time, I know. It's interesting.
It's a little weird.
UFOs.
A little weird. All right, we'll keep it down here on Earth. Elizabeth Gardner over in the WRAL Severe Weather Center. Plenty going on in the weather department.
Right, and nothing weird. However, it does feel like clockwork, all the rain that we've seen this week. We have another afternoon and evening today and another one tomorrow. And then it looks maybe a little quieter for the weekend. Dual Doppler 5000 radar doesn't show much rain. We had one pop up near Goldsboro, sliding eastward, just a tiny little cell, and then a little bit of that up into Virginia and back to the west. But it's quiet across our viewing area at the moment. We do take a look at our high resolution satellite because what I want you to see here is these dark shaded areas. This is where skies are clearing. Anywhere we have some clearing, the atmosphere is going to become a little bit more unstable, and those are areas where we may end up seeing some of the first little cells popping up as we get through the afternoon. It should start around 3 or 4 o'clock this afternoon and then continue as we get through the evening for us. We'll jump into Futurecast here, and you can see again a couple of tiny cells between now and 3 o'clock. Same thing again at 5 o'clock. I wouldn't expect it to be a rough commute for us weather-wise. And then at 7, a few more start to pop up. But once we get to 9 or 10, we start to see more of that rain popping up, especially south and east of the triangle. And that lifts northward and then begins to push out by around 3 a.m. So that's a look at where we'll have the best chance of severe storms, mainly either north and east or south and east or south of the triangle. Again, timing anywhere from an isolated shower or thunderstorm around 3 to 5 o'clock. But a more likely scenario is that we see, say, 9 or 10 o'clock up until midnight. Tomorrow is a WRAL weather alert day. We're going to see a timeline for the rain just to give it, a really wide berth, 2 o'clock to 9 o'clock. But it's really looking like dinner time or the evening commute. I'm going to walk you through Futurecast. Damaging winds, large hail, and even isolated tornadoes. We don't really have a tornado threat today, but we do have at least a small tornado threat for tomorrow. Futurecast looks like this at lunchtime tomorrow. tomorrow. Could be a few isolated cells that early, but then here comes the one that we'd be most concerned about. 4:30, 5 o'clock, starting to push into our viewing area. At 5 o'clock, Southern Pines up toward Roxborough, and between 5 and 6, it moves right across the triangle, right through the middle of the viewing area. This is where I would be concerned about seeing some isolated tornadoes or wind damage. By 7 o'clock, it's in our far eastern counties, and by 8:30, it is out of here. Potentially, maybe a little shower or thunderstorm coming in behind it, but that doesn't look terribly likely. In the meantime, we have gray skies currently. Our temperature 73. That's about as hot as it got yesterday. It'll be hotter this afternoon as we climb on up into the low 80s. But right now, temperatures are ranging from the upper 60s in the north to some low to mid 70s down south and around the triangle, looking at low to mid 70s. 83 in Raleigh, 82 in Durham, 87 in Fayetteville for our highs this afternoon. Checking the 7-day forecast. Again, tomorrow's a WRAL weather alert day. We take a look at Saturday and Sunday. There's a small chance for storms on Saturday. We'll take a closer look at the weekend coming up.
All right, thanks, Elizabeth. Coming up at 4, cross-county commute. Johnston County's population is growing rapidly, but most of those people are crossing into Wake County for work. How and why leaders are trying to create more job opportunities that are closer to home.
And tonight at 6, postpartum depression isn't just a mom thing. WRAL examines the mental health of new fathers and the new research into postpartum depression for dads.
Cassava, also known as yucca, has grown in popularity, popping up as an ingredient in countless gluten-free and paleo-friendly foods, including chips, breads, and cookies. But now a new Consumer Reports investigation reveals some cassava-based products may contain concerning levels of lead. 5 on your side's Keely Arthur has the results.
Consumer Reports tested 27 popular cassava items and found that over 2/3 contain concerning levels of lead.
With the exception of some spices, we've never seen lead levels this high as we found in these cassava products.
Lead exposure is especially dangerous for children and pregnant women because it can damage the brain and nervous system in young kids and developing fetuses. Frequent exposure in adults is linked to immune system suppression, reproductive issues, and kidney damage.
We found that cassava flour, which is often considered a healthy and grain-free alternative, to be especially problematic in regards to lead levels.
Consumer Reports found that 4 cassava products currently on the market had such high levels of lead that they advise avoiding those products entirely.
Consumer Reports released the complete list of cassava products they tested, including the ones to avoid. We'll link that to our story on WRAL.com. Keely Arthur, 5 on your side.
Change is coming to Apple. The company plans to rename its next set of operating systems to align with years instead of a version number. So that means the next iOS update coming later this year will be iOS 26 instead of iOS 19, similar to how car models are based on the year after they're launched. Apple will officially announce the change at its Worldwide Developers Conference next month. The idea is to make the software numbers more consistent. A new agreement between United Airlines and JetBlue could offer additional perks for passengers. Blue Sky would allow frequent flyers to earn and use miles on each other's airline for most flights. Priority boarding, free baggage, and preferred seats will be offered as part of the deal. The program would also allow for tickets to be sold on each other's websites and apps. Some aspects of the partnership will begin as early as this fall, and Blue Sky is still subject to approval from U.S. regulators.
Coming up, tenure turmoil. Some professors at UNC Chapel Hill have not received that job safeguard. How new figures compare to years past.
Living longer. There may not be a real fountain of youth, but experts say there is one thing we can do to extend our life. And here are your winning NC Education lottery numbers on your screen right now. We'll be right back.
Shot in 4K ultra high definition. Your number one source for local news. WRAL News. Coverage you can count on.
Some of us could be in for some rocky weather. 2 systems rolling across our area today and tomorrow.
Yeah, WRAL weather alert day is in effect for tomorrow for the chance of severe storms rolling through. This is all going to get started later this evening. Elizabeth Gardner in the WRAL Severe Weather Center right now with a look at when to expect those storms to arrive where you are.
Here's where they are right now. So this one's here around the deep south. It's going to be lifting northward. This is just a disturbance coming through, not quite as strong as what we'll see tomorrow when we have this cold front move across the area. So Friday's system brings a little bit more concern. Today we do have a level 1 risk for severe storms. It does look like probably around 8 to 9 o'clock through midnight is when we have the best chance of seeing some storms that could produce some hail or some wind damage. We look at our hour-by-hour futurecast. It could start as early as 3 or 4 or 5 o'clock. Those cells look isolated at best. It looks like we'll have better coverage as we get through, say, 8, 9 o'clock up until around midnight or so. Tomorrow is a WRAL weather alert day. We're going to have a powerful line of thunderstorms that comes through right around, say, between 4 o'clock and 9 o'clock or so. Damaging winds, large hail, and isolated tornadoes are possible with this one. And that level 2 risk is for the entire viewing area. That level 2 risk means some scattered storms that could produce severe weather. This is a look at our storm chances. You can see how it really starts to go up at 5 o'clock and tapers off closer to 9 o'clock. Coming up, I'll show you on Futurecast how that storm system moves across our area.
A troubling trend around tenure for some faculty at UNC Chapel Hill, and WRAL has obtained a letter from the faculty chair to the dean and chancellor expressing concern about a lack of tenure for certain professors. WRAL's Monica Casey is live on campus. Monica, what is the issue here?
Well, UNC Chapel Hill has different schools within the university. For example, there's a School of Medicine, a School of Public Health, and a College of Arts and Sciences. So far this year, no professors from the College of Arts and Sciences have been granted tenure. Now, I looked at past years, and that number of 0 is unusual. By this point in 2023 and in 2024, about halfway through the calendar year, between 14 and 19 professors in that specific school had gotten tenure. Now, this letter we obtained from the faculty chair says the Board of Trustees' lack of action on this has left faculty concerned. And that chair, Beth Morocco, says this could have an impact on recruitment and retention for faculty here at UNC. She is asking for an explanation and a timeline for any pending personnel actions. Now, so far this year, 31 professors in all of UNC schools have received tenure. That's about halfway through this calendar year. That number is also a bit below what we were seeing in past years at this point in the year. Live in Chapel Hill, Monica Casey, WRAL News.
This morning, 20,000 North Carolina students resumed or had to restart their end-of-year exams after an outage put them on pause. A system error caused their end-of-course and end-of-grade testing platforms to crash while students were testing yesterday. The outage lasted about 40 minutes. So far, no reports of any issues today.
I'm Megan Glova in the WRAL Live Center, and tomorrow the city of Fayetteville will announce its next chief of police. You may recall that former Chief Ken Braden, he retired in March. Now tomorrow, City Manager Doug Hewitt will make this announcement at 12:30 at City Hall. Look for that update on WRAL News at noon.
A new runway in New Jersey's largest airport is on track to open June 15th. Until then, the average number of hourly flight departures there remains lower than usual. The change follows a series of radar outages at Newark Liberty International. Air traffic controllers lost the radar and telecom that guides pilots for several seconds. Pilots say their flight training involves learning backup plans in the event of lost communication with the tower.
If we were to lose control or contact with the air traffic control facility, we've got multiple layers of people that control airspace around it. So we would immediately go to another frequency. We would talk air to air. We would rely on our onboard systems. This is an extremely rare occurrence, but it does happen.
An overhaul of the country's air traffic control system is expected to cost tens of billions of dollars. That plan would include 6 new air traffic control centers and massive upgrades to all of the country's air traffic facilities over the next 3 to 4 years.
Well, the quest for Lord Stanley's Cup is over for the Carolina Hurricanes, sadly. Now they are left looking toward next season after they dropped Game 5 of the Eastern Conference Final to the Florida Panthers. Canes had the Lenovo Center crowd all whipped up with excitement, taking a 2-0 lead in the first period. The Panthers erased that pretty easily with 3 goals in just over 4 minutes in the second period. The game was tied at 3 in the third when the Panthers scored again, taking the lead for good, and they ended up getting the win 5-3.
They're a great team, and it's obvious. The last couple of years, I think they were the standard, obviously, and I thought our guys battled really hard all series.
And they did. That's a high bar they set. This is the third season in a row the Panthers have won the Eastern Conference title, and they'll be looking for their second straight Stanley Cup.
Just ahead, so many of us can't just watch one episode. Why psychology experts say reality TV is so addicting, and why we should be setting limits.
Well, I think the same people say you are what you eat, right? Many of us, for that, it is sodium, a lot of it. We'll tell you the top 3 foods containing the highest amount of sodium. For news, traffic, and weather of the day, be sure to download the WRAL News app.
All right, welcome to Cumberland County is something you will not see on Dunn Road right now. Take a look at this. Someone stole the sign here, leaving it blank, and authorities need your help finding who's responsible. Here's a better picture of what it looks like. Actually, we're going to stick with the blank one right here. The sign was placed on April 3rd and was reported missing today. The cost to replace it is $1,250. So make sure you let authorities know if you see anything like this.
All right, thanks, Megan. There always seems to be a hot new reality show that has everyone talking, but why do we keep going back for more? Watching a reality show can be like going on a mini vacation. It allows us to take a break from our own problems and see what's happening in somebody else's life. But just like eating your favorite foods, reality shows can light up the brain's reward system. However, just like sweet treats, we should use caution and avoid overindulging.
Know your limits. If it's becoming too heavy, if you're feeling triggered, it is time to watch something else. Turn to something lighter, turn to something fictional. Reality shows can get to be too much depending on which reality shows we're watching.
And psychologists also say setting screen time limits in general is a good idea. This gives us time for activities that are more beneficial to our mental health, like pursuing a hobby or spending time with loved ones.
Losing just 6% of your body weight in midlife may lower your risk of disease and premature death. For someone who weighs 180 pounds, that is just shy of losing 12 pounds total. Researchers studied data from 23,000 adults dating back to the 1960s, and they found that people who lost weight were less likely to suffer from heart attacks, strokes, cancer, asthma, and lung diseases. Scientists point out the improvements happened before weight loss medications and surgeries came along. 3 popular foods appear to be the main sources of sodium for all Americans, regardless of racial or ethnic background. Researchers say pizza, soup, and chicken are among the top sources. The average American consumes approximately 3,400 milligrams of sodium per day. That is far above the recommended intake of 2,300 milligrams for healthy people, 1,500 if you have high blood pressure.
Paychecks for survivors, victims of the 2023 Maui wildfires should soon see their settlement money when the plaintiffs can start submitting their claims. .44 on your Thursdays. You look live at Sanford. You're watching WRAL News, available on Hulu and the WRAL app on your TV or streaming device.
In recent days, President Trump has pardoned several people convicted of crimes, including tax fraud, accepting bribes, even selling government property. Another couple, reality TV show couple Todd and Julie Chrisley, are now home after being pardoned for their convictions for fraud and tax crimes. NBC's Hallie Jackson reports the pardons don't stop there.
Former reality TV stars Todd and Julie Chrisley free this morning after President Trump signed their full pardons. Their daughter, Savannah, posting videos from the car.
I've got Todd over here being dramatic.
I didn't have to deal with this in prison. Feel that myself.
And earlier outside the prison, thanking the president.
It's all God and President Trump at this point.
Best known for their show Chrisley Knows Best.
We're the Chrisleys, Todd and Julie Chrisley.
The couple was indicted in 2019 during the first Trump administration on tax crimes and convicted by a jury in 2022 for defrauding banks out of more than $30 million.
There are hundreds of cases around the country where people are wrongfully convicted, and the juries don't always get things right.
But Savannah Chrisley, a Trump supporter, has been lobbying for their release, appearing at last year's Republican National Convention and on Laura Trump's TV show. Top Democrat Elizabeth Warren calling the pardon a get-out-of-jail-free card for the rich and famous who cozy up to Trump. The Chrisleys, just two of a number of people pardoned by the president. Though all were legally convicted, some, like the Chrisleys, argue they are victims of political persecution, including former Republican congressman turned conservative cable commentator Michael Grimm, who pleaded guilty to tax fraud.
I will make it official with a badge.
And earlier this week, President Trump pardoning Scott Jenkins, a former Virginia sheriff who was found guilty by a jury of receiving more than $75,000 in bribes. That pardon, supported by the president's new pardon attorney, who tweeted, quote, "No MAGA left behind." Now, President Trump's hinting at another possible high-profile pardon for 9 men convicted in a 2020 kidnapping plot of Michigan's Democratic Governor Gretchen Whitmer.
It looked to me like somewhat of a railroad job, but I'll take a look at that.
That was Hallie Jackson reporting. Some victims of the 2023 Maui wildfires could receive their first payments by the end of the year. A judge approved a plan to distribute the $4 billion settlement among 22,000 plaintiffs. Victims can start submitting claims next month. The judge set an October 1st deadline to get their first payments out before the end of the year. Those who don't want to file an individual claim can join a class action lawsuit with a total fund of $135 million.
A lot of clouds still hanging around our viewing area. Elizabeth Gardner over in the WRAL Severe Weather Center. A few more views of that. But you know what? Relatively dry for today.
Yeah, we've been pretty dry so far. We didn't have to worry about any rain for the morning commute, and we don't have any rain at the moment. But here going forward, we'll see a very slowly increasing chance as we get closer to the evening commute. Cloudy in Fayetteville and Raleigh, Apex, Chapel Hill. Chapel Hill's courtesy of Top of the Hill Restaurant. Probably seeing some cloud cover where you are. This is a look at radar. Beginning to see just a few isolated showers just in the last 15 minutes there in Mecklenburg County, Virginia. That's about it right now. A little bit more back to our far back to our north and west. But as we go forward from here on out over the next few hours, we may have a few small cells that begin to develop. Of course, we have the system that's rolling through today. It's a disturbance, which will be a little bit weaker than this front that comes through tomorrow. That's going to bring us a greater severe threat. But these are our two next weather makers coming through. This is a look at today, and you can see almost the entire state is under a level 1 risk for severe storms. Strong, gusty, damaging wind would be our biggest threat for today. And we'll walk through Futurecast and show you the timeline. So kicking things off right now, those little cells try to develop, but look like they don't really get too far until 5 o'clock. Maybe 1 or 2 begins to pop up. It shouldn't be something that has a big impact on the afternoon, evening commute. By 9 o'clock, it's starting to look a little bit more interesting. Some storms up near the Virginia line and near the South Carolina line, and that begins to fill in between 9 and midnight. And you can see some scattered cells, especially everybody but north and west of the triangle. So to the south, to the east, to the northeast. By 5 a.m., we're back down tomorrow. Just a few isolated showers. It may be a little damp, a little bit wet for the morning commute, but it shouldn't be anything heavy. By lunchtime, this little batch pops up, but what we're most concerned about is this one that starts to move into the viewing area by around 5 p.m. tomorrow. This is terrible timing. This is Friday. Friday afternoons, traffic seems to be worse than any other time, and we're going to have this powerful line of storms coming through. At 6 o'clock, right through the middle of the viewing area, and at 7 o'clock in our eastern counties. So it does move through fast, but it is likely to be pretty powerful. Isolated tornadoes could pop up along that. That's going to be the most concerning time. So damaging winds, large hail, isolated tornadoes with that level 2 risk for severe storms. What does level 2 mean? It means scattered severe storms are possible. They're fairly short-lived. In this case, they'll be very fast moving. Best chance of rain comes, of course, after 9 o'clock tonight, all the way into the day tomorrow. But tomorrow's best chance will be right there during the evening commute. How much more rain are we likely to see? Somewhere between 1/2 1/2 an inch to an inch. All right, let's take a look at Saturday. Saturday, when we take a look at the models, I mean, a couple little cells pop up. It's not anything that I would stop my plans for. So partly cloudy skies. I think we're pretty good to go on Saturday, but definitely Sunday, there's no chance for rain. The humidity should drop off a little bit over the weekend. What you want to do for Saturday is download our new WRAL, make sure you've downloaded our WRAL app and make sure you're following along. All right, weather alert day for tomorrow. Fairly comfortable over the weekend. Then it gets a little bit hotter by the middle of next week.
Thanks, Elizabeth. The orange fur mystery. Scientists believe they have tracked down the cause of a certain cat color.
How it traces back to a single instance centuries ago on the other side of the world.
And here's a look at your winning Powerball numbers: 23, 27, 32, 35, 59. The Powerball is 11. The multiplier is 2.
As we wrap things up, here's a look at a few of the headlines we are following today.
The family of a Raleigh man who died in a crash following a chase by a state trooper held a rally today. The family and 2 civil rights attorneys are calling for the immediate firing of DA Lauren Freeman, along with 2 state troopers and the Raleigh police officer who responded to that October crash. Freeman said she could not charge the troopers who lied on the dash and body cam video, as that is not considered a crime in this context. WRAL has learned more about a murder suspect who died in Durham police custody earlier this month. Police arrested 19-year-old Joshua Farmer May 14th and charged him with shooting on Dayton Street that killed a 17-year-old. Police say as they prepared to transport Farmer, he lunged and grabbed an officer's weapon and in the struggle shot himself. The SBI is investigating.
More than 400 people were without power earlier due to a burnt power line in Raleigh. Video from Sky 5 shows utility crews and police on Glasscock Street. That area blocked off while work was underway to repair the line and get the power back on.
Today marks the 72nd anniversary of the first known Mount Everest summit. New Zealand mountaineer Sir Edmund Hillary and his Nepalese Sherpa Tenzing Norgay reached the highest point on Earth on this day in 1953. The summit of Everest is more than 29,000 feet above sea level. It's about the same height as cruising altitude for airplanes. Interestingly, 2 days ago, 55-year-old Kami Rita Sherpa broke his own world record for climbing the summit, reaching the peak for the 31st time.
Wow. Well, scientists believe they have uncovered what makes orange kitties so unique. Researchers say they have an unusual mutation that likely occurred once hundreds of years ago during domestication. They believe the cats were then bred for that specific color. Depictions of calico cats appear in Chinese art dating back to the 12th century.
Time now for our pet of the day. This is Shelby. She's a 2-year-old spayed short-hair cat. The most beautiful blue eyes right there. Her foster mom says Shelby becomes very affectionate once she's comfortable. Maybe the most affectionate cat she's ever had. She loves to crawl up on people's laps and loves her humans, bumps them with her nose. Shelby's adoption fee is only $32.50 now through June 1st, which includes her vaccines and microchips. You can learn more at spcawake.org.
So cute. Well, NBC News Daily is coming up next on WRAL. Your next local news update is in 30 minutes.
Also, you can get breaking news updates anytime with the WRAL News app. Have a great Thursday.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.